Welcome to episode 93 of Chew on This, a Nerds United podcast. I'm BJ.
Vic.
Just really quick, if you guys want to help sponsor us and keep us going and going to cons and interviewing people, which we have some really cool stuff like that coming up, you can go to patreon.com and support us. So that's oh my gosh, my spelling is terrible. patreon.com/chew on this podcast. And you can go at as little as $1 a month. You can help sponsor us. And we have different tiers and different rewards for whatever you sponsor us with.
All right, so we've both been advertising Wawa for a pretty long time now. So don't take my word for how good their stuff is. You can actually buy coffee off their website and get it sent to you. So we had a friend from New Jersey visit, and she brought Wawa coffee, and I made cold brew coffee. Yeah, I made cold brew coffee with it, and it was fucking awesome. And then I went out and bought some like kind of off-brand coffee, you know, like it was like a toffee caramel type coffee from some store that I won't name, and it tasted like shit. So I don't know what the shipping is, but it doesn't matter. Go out and get your Wawa coffee. And again, hashtag West Coast Wawa is the hashtag.
Awesome.
All right.
And before,
exactly.
Before we get into the podcast, I just want to quickly remind you guys, or did we remind them? I don't think we've ever told them.
We mentioned it once, but we haven't said it since then.
Oh, okay, because it's coming up real soon. So, Chew on This is going to be at the San Francisco Comic-Con at the Moscone Center in San Francisco. And that is, I believe, I don't have the room number, but I'll mention it again. It'll be on our advertisements. But we'll be at, it's 10 p.m., I think we're doing a panel. And I have it. The title is going to be on the advertisement, which we'll start advertising here real soon. And from week to week, we'll remind you guys that we have you can come out and see us at the Moscone Center pretty late at night, but hopefully we'll have a pretty good crowd, and it's going to be a fun time.
And it's basically because we can't stop cursing.
Yeah, we wanted to be on at 3 p.m, and then they're like, sure, and then we're like, well, we curse, and they're like, ooh, yeah, you're going on at 10 p.m. And we're like, shit. Okay, so but anyway, we're going to be there all day that day on September 2nd. We're going to be there all day. We're going to be running around with a camera and talking to people, interviewing people, and then at night we're going to be doing a panel, and it's going to be a good time. So if you find us, we're giving out some, I don't know if we're giving out free stuff or not, but we'll have business cards and things. We're going to talk to you and maybe get an interview with you. It'll be fun.
As you can tell, we're all organized for everything, like always.
Yeah, because right now I literally have no idea what we're doing. All I know is we're going to be there, which is pretty awesome.
Somehow people just keep giving us shit to do and never listening to our podcast, which is awesome.
Yeah,
we just got to find a way for people
to
not give a shit to do and give us money and not listening to the podcast.
Right.
That's the ultimate goal: is to get money from people without having them listen to the podcast and not having any responsibility to do anything.
So, bitch, we're just literally falling upward. Eventually, we're gonna be podcasting from Skyrocket Ranch or some shit. We'll be at Comic-Con in San Diego, and we don't know how we got there.
Yeah.
Or we could go the other way, and we'll be at the AVN Awards or something.
That might not be too bad. As long as we're getting paid. I don't care what we're doing. I don't care if we do the dog show.
And we'll both be divorced at that point.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
this
introduce
is episode.
This one.
This is episode 93, and all the movies we reviewed this year, for the most part, I believe, have either been 3 stars or up. So we've seen a lot of decent movies, good movies, no terrible movies yet, and we're almost towards the end. So our subject tonight is Chew on This, Hate Your Movies. We are going through movies that we've seen our entire lifetime. We'll keep the list short, and these are movies that we just hate. Not that we love to talk about them, but we hate them so much that we don't even really see them, and we just get a really bad pit in our stomach that we don't even want to talk about them. So some of these movies that I have on my list, I actually had to think back because I think my brain blocked them out. They were so fucking bad. So
you start.
Oh, okay. So the first one on my list is Wild Wild West.
Oh, good one.
I remember 2 or 3 summers in a row, Will Smith owned July 4th weekend for movies. You could not find a bigger star. Like he was at the peak of his stardom at that time frame. And then Wild Wild West comes out, and that's when he jumped the shark.
Oh man, you telling me was that another Barry Sonnenfeld movie? Didn't he
I'm not
do
sure, but John Peters
Men in
produced it.
Black? Yeah, we've talked about John Peters.
So if you've never seen this movie, it's basically Will Smith in a western, and the movie ends with him fighting a giant mechanical spider. I shit you not.
Yes.
And
Uh,
basically, I'm guessing at this point in time, his star was so high that he didn't give a shit what he was getting paid and didn't think that any movie would bomb because he was in it. I mean, that's how big of a star he was. Same thing with like, I mean, he was right up there with like Mel Gibson at this point in time. Like
yeah,
he was all over the place.
it was Independence Day was one year. The next year it was Men in
Men in
Black.
Black, right?
Yeah, yeah, he was huge. Hasn't been as of lately.
No, not at all.
But oh man, I was so disappointed in that movie. That was one of the biggest disappointments, and I hated that movie too, like from beginning to end. And I love Will Smith, and I love Kevin Kline, like love Kevin Kline because he's been in some great movies. I mean, A
Oh,
Fish Called
love him. Yep.
Wanda's
Yep.
one of my favorites.
Of course, we've talked about Life as a House was a good one of my all-time
Yes,
favorites.
yep,
But yeah, this movie, it's one of those like I'll even when if it's on Stars or HBO, maybe it's probably Stars. If it's on Stars or whatever, I will sit down and actually stay on Batman and Robin. But if Wild Wild West, and I couldn't put Batman and Robin on my list because it was like I think I had it for like one of my guilty pleasures, so I still watch it when it's on.
oh,
But
it's
when
on my.
Wild West is on, I
Uh-huh.
never fucking watch this movie because I remember seeing it in the theater because everybody went to go see a Will Smith movie on July 4th weekend, you know? I remember going to see this movie, walking out of it and thinking, holy fuck, that was terrible. That was terrible. And I went to go
Yeah.
see He Man in the fucking theater.
So segue into Batman and Robin, I have that on my list because I remember I really liked and I still like the first two Batman movies with Michael Keaton. And then like Batman Forever, with Jim Carrey, whose star was rising at that point, and Val Kilmer, which I really like Val Kilmer, but that movie was a little too comic booky and quirky. Joel Schumacher really kind of messed with the Batman formula. Then when he got to the fourth one, it's like he wasn't even trying. Like it was just like so corny, and
There
the
was a
act
there was a
so
fucking
bad.
Mastercard commercial in that movie.
Yeah, he had his name on a card, and I'm like,
It's one of the
when
dumbest things ever in movie.
I'm like, did Batman go and open an account? Like, does he have a social security number, Batman, or does he have a work permit, or
So
like
that's funny that
tax ID?
you hate the movie and it's like on my guilt
I
it's
hate.
like one of my guilty pleasures. Like
Yeah,
I don't think it's good at all. Like I'm not defending that movie. I know that movie is a piece of shit. But for some reason I always have it on. Like if it's like
yeah.
I'll just flip to it. If nothing else is on, I'll leave Batman and Robin in the background knowing
I
how bad it is.
I can't. Yeah, I can't do it. It's so bad, and every time Arnold Schwarzenegger's on there, it's really. I mean, it just makes me angry because they, especially like we've talked about in the Batman animated series, how they just made you care about Doctor Freeze, the Doctor Freeze story. Like they made you
Right,
care
right.
about that story, and they just fucking ruined it in this movie. It pissed me off so bad. So yeah, I hate that movie, and I hate the Bane. With the
Yeah.
hits the button and he gets big, and it's ridiculous. So yeah,
Actually,
I hated Batman.
once he becomes big from like the bad animation, remember the little skinny dude?
Uh huh.
Anytime he hits the button, he doesn't get bigger. He just like
Gets stronger or
growls.
gets
He just growls and like puffs his chest out, and the green button lights up on his chest. That's basically it. So there's no like other animation to it.
that's that's terrible. It's just the LED
Yeah, it's
that
like
lights
well, I
up.
mean that started the whole thing. I mean, how many neon lights did he fucking use for Batman and Robin? Like that was
Yeah.
like there was lights everywhere. Like instead of actually having ice in the one section where they freeze the museum to open the movie, they just have blue neon lights on the fucking ground.
Yeah, it was that movie was extremely colorful and like fluorescent lighting
Yep. Yeah.
everywhere, which made
Everybody
no
had fluorescent
sense.
lights.
Yeah, everybody did. And
There was one
Poison
point where
Ivy.
they were at that party, and they
Uh-huh.
were actually like the dancers were like throwing around like or twirling around like I think neon sticks, like basically giant glow sticks,
It's like if J.J. Abrams directed it, there'd just be like those
lens flares
lens
everywhere,
flares everywhere.
like dead of night, and then he looks at the moon and there's a giant lens flare coming out
Right,
of the
right.
moon.
Or if John Woo directed Batman or Robin.
There's doves everywhere. It's slow motion and doves.
And if it was Michael Bay, it's just explosions and
It'd
twirling
be
cameras.
you'd have like Bane's balls in there somewhere as a joke. Some supermodel
Masturbating.
scientist, and some like
Masturbating joke with
yeah,
Batman.
like, and then like of course a token black dude has to be in his movies.
Like
somehow.
how many people have slid down your bat pole, Batman?
Yeah, just terrible
Stupid jokes.
and like
Yeah,
five
anyway.
sunsets. So anyway, you hate that
I
movie.
fucking hate that movie. I hate it.
I watch it because it's so bad. Like it's like a train wreck. That's basically how I explain it. I mean, I don't like that movie. I don't like it, but I don't hate it because like I leave it on and I just think it's fascinating how fucking awful that movie is. It doesn't piss me. It doesn't piss me off like Batman v Superman.
It makes me. Well, yeah, I guess it doesn't make me mad in that respect because I think Batman and Robin knows it's corny.
Yeah.
You know,
So
versus yeah.
I mentioned actually I teased my next movie that I hate, and I hate He-Man, the movie with Dolph Lundgren. Like all of a sudden, as a kid, I remember watching this in the theater, and I was like, why does He-Man have a hard time speaking English? And he doesn't have any lines either. It's like you remember the cartoon, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, oh yeah.
He-Man was like could not be whiter than white. If you listen to the intro, go to YouTube and watch the intro
And he has
for
the
He-Man.
worst haircut ever.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, it's basically like a longer version of the Dumb and Dumber haircut from Jim
Yeah.
Carrey.
Yeah. Or that guy on Benchwarmers.
Or
has that
oh no, he's
haircut.
got the same haircut as the kid from in the real world of the Never Ending Story. Remember that kid's hair?
Oh yeah, totally. I just keep
There you
thinking
go.
of that guy in Benchwarmers who like was afraid of the sun.
So
His hair
yeah,
was just like that.
so this movie was complete shit. It's called He-Man Masters of the Universe, but they spend their time in some like hick town on Earth. Like they basically did not have a budget for this movie.
Didn't that
so-
have was Courtney Cox in that movie?
Courtney Cox was in this movie. Yeah, she played the Earth girl that somehow got involved in all this thing, and it all revolved around a fucking musical key.
Oh my God, Frank Langella was
Skeletor.
Skeletor. That's
Which
so weird.
Skeletor, and you could tell like the acting prowess because like Skeletor actually wasn't that bad in the
Yeah.
movie. He wasn't like Frank Langella did a pretty good job being Skeletor, but everything else, if you could just isolate Frank Langella in that movie, not bad. Just call it Skeletor and it'd be like 4 minutes long. But unfortunately, He-Man is in this movie. Like, does he look like He-Man? Yeah, he kind of does look like He-Man because he's jacked and he's blonde. But can he act like a He-Man? No, because Courtney Cox had more lines than he did, and she wasn't. Her name's not on the fucking title of the movie. That little short person, that the little magician or whatever, the guy who
who was
created
that?
the guy who created that musical key.
Oh yeah.
He had more lines than He-Man. He spoke more than He-Man.
He-Man can't master the English language.
It's like you know how like in Wonder Woman how they like didn't even try to get Gal Gadot to speak English like properly. They're like,
Right.
all right, everybody's got a fucking Israeli accent, right? It's like they listen, but in this case, they listen to Dolph Lundgren like say I'm He-Man or I have the power, and they're like, oh, holy fuck, we got to cut like 40%.
I have the power.
Cut like 75% of this guy's lines.
We got to redub it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
that movie's
It's just,
terrible. So
it's just
bad.
like Arnold Schwarzenegger doing like Hercules or something like that. I don't know if you've seen that movie, like in the
Oh,
70s.
yeah.
think Lou-
That was pretty bad.
Or Lou Ferrigno, doing a movie.
He did
But,
Hercules
well,
too.
he's got it. He's got. I shouldn't brag on him though. He's got an excuse. But like Schwarzenegger's, like his accent was so thick, you couldn't.
Yeah,
barely even.
they dubbed
They had
him
to
over
dub him.
some like little white guy was Arnold Hercules' voice.
I have the power. Yeah.
Oh, what
I
other
have,
bad things about that movie?
I
Do you remember
well,
anything else about that movie?
I really don't, because I'll be honest with you,
Oh,
I've seen it.
the
I saw
guy
it
from
once.
the principal from Back to the Future's in it.
No.
Remember he plays that dick cop?
Yeah, I love that guy because he
plays
was in
like
Top Gun too.
Yeah, well, he played a cop, and they basically dressed him like Kojak because he had no hair. So like dressed him as fucking Kojak. He wears a trench coat throughout the entire fucking movie.
Strickland. That's his name. I couldn't
Well, that's in
remember his
Back to
name.
the Future.
Yeah, Back to the Future.
I don't remember what his name is in He-Man. I don't remember most of the names in He-Man other than the.
I don't think he wants to be remembered being in He-Man. So if we're gonna go that kind of stuff, I'll bring up two movies because I just thought of another one. Super Mario Brothers,
Okay,
and then Street Fighter.
that's on my list.
Because I hate Street Fighter with a passion. I'd actually watch Super Mario Brothers 20,000 times before I'd watch Street Fighter, but I hated both of those. Super Mario Brothers, I think I've already seen once, and
Me too.
I love Bob Hoskins because like he was in Who Framed Roger Rabbit and a bunch of other movies that I dug him in, but I was like, why did you do this? And I don't remember who played Luigi. I don't remember.
John Leguizamo,
John Wick was dude. Why? You're so awesome.
and he's
I
not
love
Italian.
that guy. And he's Puerto Rican, isn't he? Or is he Latino? I can't remember.
Yeah, he
Hispanic?
could not. He's got a Latino, like a kind of like American Latino twang to his voice, or to his like, and he plays an Italian guy from New York. Like you could
So
not look further away from Bob Hoskins,
That's so.
and they're supposed to be fucking brothers.
Who decided to make that? Who did?
And
didn't
then
they
it
make
was Dennis Hopper was
the bad guy?
King something. What was his name?
I don't remember, dude. The Bowser.
Yeah, Bowser. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Lord, dude.
I don't
Bob
even remember who the
I mean,
princess was either.
yeah, Dennis Hopper. There was a period of time where he was the bad guy in every fucking movie.
Yeah,
Like seriously, like in every single movie he was in.
that was probably his worst one, and we're talking he was the bad guy in Waterworld.
Water.
And,
Waterworld.
and Super Mario Brothers is way worse that he was Bowser.
Yes.
First of all, he
so
was
bad.
supposed to be playing a giant turtle with horns on its back.
Right.
So, and then he just played it. He just
just
had
played
a
it
weird
normal.
head. He had a weird head. I remember that. He had
They're
a
like,
weird
okay, you need to,
forehead.
wear this turtle outfit, and he's like,
It's not even
no.
a turtle outfit. He just
No, he's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
no, I'm wearing a helmet. That's all I'm gonna do.
Make me look like a white Klingon is basically what he said.
Yeah, he's like, and they're like, come on, Dennis, and he's like, no, I'm not
Just give
doing
me a
that.
shitty version of a Klingon, and that's what I'm going to wear.
My agent made me do this.
Yeah.
Or my kids wanted me to be in this, but I'm not gonna wear the outfit. I'm not gonna look like a fucking mascot for a high school football
when I
team.
saw when I finally saw that movie, I was like, oh, I'm so glad this is the one time that I felt proud to be like a Sega person and not a Nintendo person. Because like Nintendo always kicked Sega's ass until like and I remember watching that movie. I was like, wow, this is a piece of shit.
I mean, it took 30 plus years to come out with a decent video game movie or show or whatever, and that was Castlevania that we just saw on Netflix recently.
Yeah, that's a long time.
That's a long fucking time.
That's a lot of shitty movies. Because we just talked about Street Fighter's on both our lists, so let's talk about that piece of shit.
Oh God. Okay, so Van Damme was kind of at his peak right around then. He did a bunch of standalone
Basically,
movies.
just put him in the movie, and you thought people were just going to flock to it with Street Fighter.
Yeah, exactly. I don't remember anyone else in this except for Raul Julia, and I remember feel so bad for him because he played M. Bison, and that was his last movie he ever did.
So his name is Raul Julia.
Raul
right?
Julia, yeah.
And he's playing a guy from Russia. If you've never seen the movie, just let that sink in.
Yeah, he could.
The same guy who was in the Addams Family played a Russian.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
fucking dumb.
it's so terrible, and
And
he's such a good actor, man. He died before his time, before he should have. He died
and
young.
Van Damme's from Brussels. Is that by France? Do they have a French accent?
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Well, isn't Guile from the United States?
Yeah, because he's supposed to be an American soldier, I thought.
Yeah, he's got the American tattoo flag on his fucking arm.
But they're like, no, let's put Van Damme in there because he can kick high. He can do
So
cool stuff.
okay, so here we go. The two main people in this movie, a person named Raul Julia, is supposed to play a Russian, and he didn't even try to have a Russian accent. He just used his
No.
own normal accent, like his own is he Latino? Like I think he is, right?
I think he is, yeah.
So he has his Latino accent as a Russian,
Yeah.
right? So then you have Jean-Claude Van Damme from Brussels, who can barely speak a word of English, being Guile, who is in the American Army.
Right.
The only person they probably got right was Chun Li, who was Ming Na from
That was Ming Na from
I think
Agents
so.
of Shield.
Yeah, I think
Oh
so.
wow! They made a Chun Li movie on its own, and they
Kristen
cast.
Stewart.
Yeah, is she even Asian?
She's half. I think she's like Japanese half.
She's half it. Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so the
I
movie,
always-
I don't even remember what the movie. Well, I think it's like M Bison trying to take over the world, and
I
like,
literally couldn't tell you anything
and that
about
was
that
it.
movie.
And then
I
like
watched it
Ryu and
once.
Ken barely had like anything to do with the movie too.
And they're the main
And-
characters.
And
in the
everybody
game.
was Ken or Ryu basically in the video game in Street Fighter.
Yeah.
So they decided to take Guile, who barely anybody really used, and M Bison, the final boss, which makes sense.
Yeah. Well, you had the you had the electricity, the weird Balky. I don't remember what his name is.
Oh
but
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
He was barely in it. The
But that's like doing okay. So like Street Fighter had the two guys, right? Instead of doing Batman and Robin for your movie, you fucking do like Alfred and Commissioner Gordon's dog, like two random people.
yeah, they're not the main. I mean, Bison's the main bad guy. That makes
Right, yeah,
sense.
yeah.
But yeah, you actually see the Hindu guy who can stretch his arms and legs and all that. Like
Oh, I don't
he-
remember his name.
He couldn't do that. I think it was Dolly or Dami or something like that. But he couldn't even do that in the movie. He got like some experiment zapped him or something like that. And then at the end of the movie, he was bald and he could stretch his arms and shit. And I was like, what
So
the hell is this movie?
dumb.
Like, what is this movie about? Like, they made a Mortal Kombat movie that I thought was like Shakespeare compared to this fucking movie.
Yeah,
Because I hated Mortal Kombat too. That movie
yeah,
was
I
stupid.
did too. Raiden, who's basically Asian in the fucking video game, they could not. They got the Highlander to fucking play him.
Oh my god, that's right.
Fucking.
Oh shit. Did they make a Double Dragon movie too? That was terrible.
Yeah, they did. I don't even remember it. I don't even remember it so much. Like it's so bad that I can't even hate it because I don't remember it. I just remember it being bad. Okay, so I'm gonna go really old school here, and this is probably a
All
movie
right.
that nobody's ever seen. And I actually saw this in the theater. I think it's because we knew the owners of the movie theater. At least that's what I'm hoping I saw it. And it didn't pay money for this movie, but it's called Leonard Part 6.
Oh, I hated that movie too. Is that with Bill Cosby?
So this is how fucking dumb. This is how fucking dumb this movie is, and why I hate it. So first of all, the title, because as a kid when I watched this movie, I can't remember how old, but I was pretty young.
Where's the other five?
Yeah, but I didn't know it was like making fun of spy movies. So they started with Leonard Part 6 as a crack of like so many like Bond movies, you know.
Right.
So they just said Leonard Part 6, and I always was confused. I was like, "What happened in the first 5 movies?" Because I was a kid. Because I
Bro,
thought,
I'm gonna
like,
be lost. I don't want to watch
yeah,
this.
I don't like this is the 6th movie. I'm gonna miss a lot. You know, it's like starting with the Fast 8 in the Fast and the Furious movie. So first of all, that pissed me off when I grew up and found out what the fuck it was because I didn't know. Like it confused the shit out of me.
You robbed me.
Right. There's an actual scene in this movie where Bill Cosby is being attacked by killer lobsters,
Yes, and he puts butter on him.
and to escape, he has a stick of butter.
He
I
gives them
melted stick
Quaaludes.
the Quaaludes were in the butter.
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually somebody wrote this down in a script and said, "Hey, so you're going to be tied up in this scene, and there's going to be killer lobsters coming at you, and the way that you escape is you had a stick of butter in your pocket the whole time."
It never melted.
Yeah, yeah, and that like there was a scene that actually exists like that, and there's that one time where he's wearing like a helmet that looks like a silver penis on his head,
Yes.
riding an ostrich,
He's like, I'm gonna penetrate you.
riding an ostrich.
We should have known then. What the hell?
This movie is so goddamn bad that I mean I remember I was pretty young, again fooled by the title, not knowing it was satire or just stupid fucking title, stupid fucking title. This movie is just I knew I hated this movie when I was done. Even at a young age I was like, why the fuck does he has a stick of butter? It's killer lobsters. Just step on them.
Eat them. It's pick it up and chomp it.
Like it. Oh my god. That like
No.
you know how like in Austin Powers where they're like, I have like ill-tempered trout with lasers on their head, right? That is like, but he's purposely like making fun of it. That was funny. Being attacked by killer lobsters and defeating them with butter is so dumb.
Yeah,
it's so dumb.
It's not even like funny. It's not even like so dumb it's funny kind of situation.
No, it's just stupid.
Extremely dumb. Yeah.
They do like a Street Hawk type or Knight Rider type thing when he's riding the ostrich at one point, I think, where the ostrich moves like really fast. I can't. It's God. It's I don't know what this fuck this movie's about. Fuck Leonard Part 6.
When I was younger, oh God, it's like 1990, 89, somewhere around there. My friend and I, we went and saw Joe versus the Volcano.
Oh, I saw that in the theater.
Neither, both of us were huge Tom Hanks fans. Of course, back then there was no, RT ratings or any of that stuff. You just went and saw it, or you had to read the newspaper if they said the movie sucked or not. But
then you had to go out and buy a newspaper.
yeah, and so it was Tom Hanks. We're like, oh shit! I mean, he's made a string of good movies recently with Big and Punchline and League of Their Own, and he's on a comeback, and we go see, or maybe that came after Joe versus Volcano. Fuck, I don't know. But anyway, we went and saw Joe versus Volcano, and I was bored to tears. I was like, this is the dumbest fucking movie. They had like a couple of parts in it that made me chuckle, and the rest of it I hated so much that I had a candy bar in my pocket. It was like a Milky Way, and it melted. No, it was a Snickers bar.
Sure
it was
wasn't butter?
melted. I couldn't eat it because it was like melted.
It wasn't butter. It wasn't a stick of butter.
No. No, I in case a tweaker came at me, I'd like throw the candy bar at him, like, here, eat the sugar.
Yeah, I remember that movie in the theater and being really mad when Meg Ryan's first character is gone, and then she shows up again as a completely different character.
She's in there 3 different times as 3 different characters.
Oh, it's 3? Oh God,
I think
now
3.
I hate it even more.
But
I thought it was 2.
I unwrapped the Snickers bar and threw it at the screen at the end of the movie, and it literally just ran down the theater screen like really slowly, like and it left this like brown mark, and then we got the hell out of there. Like we were so mad because it's just one of those movies. It's just where the slow burn is like an hour and a half, and then they try to pay it off at the last 5 minutes, and it didn't work. I mean, it was just an excruciatingly boring, stupid movie.
The ocean scene where he ties together all the expensive luggage that he ended up buying, I always chuckled at the end of Titanic because of that movie.
Right. Well, I chuckled at that part too because there's a part where because he had all this money and he bought all this extravagant, stupid shit, right, to take with him, and he's supposed to jump in a volcano and die, but he takes the stuff with him and yeah, he takes out the putting green,
right?
And that made me laugh because I thought, oh, that's pretty funny. But other than that, there was nothing in that movie that made me chuckle or laugh.
There's nothing.
Part. It's
there's
drab.
If you saw Joe versus the Volcano, would you have hired those two for Sleepless in Seattle?
No, I'd have been like, there is no chemistry here.
Yeah.
This movie is stupid. You know, because I still to this day love Sleepless in Seattle, and they only see each other the last like 2 minutes of the movie,
Right.
which that's genius. I mean, how they were able to accomplish that, I don't know, but it
Because
was
it's
great.
wasn't Carrie Fisher part of the writing team?
She might have been one of the writers that came on to spruce it up, but
Yeah.
I love Rosie O'Donnell back then before she became who she is today. Um,
Right.
I really liked her. I thought she was funny, and I thought Meg Ryan is so charming, and then Tom Hanks is charming. You know, like a Jimmy Stewart type, and the
Yeah.
movie's great. And then
Yeah, I really like that movie too.
yeah, so I don't know, like Joe versus Volcano is just one of the worst movies out there. What else you got?
I got Snake Eyes. I fucking
Oh,
hate this movie.
oh, except for the first like 2 minutes of the
So
movie.
I remember watching like this is when I really loved Nick Cage. Like I liked him in The Rock. Even though the movie's dumb, I liked him in it. I liked him in Con Air, even that movie's really ridiculous too. I just thought he was like really charming at that point in time, and I was really looking forward to Snake Eyes. And I actually read something somehow they were talking about. It's a De Palma film, and they talk about the opening movie that it's supposed to be this unbelievable like Oscar worthy part. So I go in like, all right, I really want to watch this movie. So if you've never seen Snake Eyes, the first like 10 minutes of the movie is one continuous shot. They
Yes, it's
basically
awesome.
start from the parking lot and end up inside the casino ringside, and there's all this stuff going on, and then later on, which is a cool thing, is you kind of see how it plays out from the other side because you only see Nicolas Cage. But the shots, the whole opening of the movie was phenomenal. And then 10 minutes after the murder happens in that movie, spoilers, they tell you exactly who the fucking murderer is.
Yeah, yep.
And
And the
so
whole
like the
movie's
whole
just
movie for me
ruined.
is just dead because basically it ends up being a snuff film because Nicolas Cage gets the shit fucked like beat out of him. Like towards the end of the movie right before like the whole thing is resolved. And then there's like predates the Lord of the Rings with like fucking 7 endings. Like you think
Yep.
it's going to end when the murder is solved and Garrison gets caught. No. There's another ending after that where he becomes a hero. You think it's going to end after that? No. He fucking goes to jail after that. Like it just keeps fucking going. But
Yeah,
the
it's
whole movie, if it's a balloon, all the air got let out the second you find out it was Gary Sinise, because the opening shot set up everything so goddamn well that you were sucked into it, and you're like, oh my god, this is gonna be a great like a murder mystery movie, right?
yes.
With this sleazeball Nick Cage, who has to rise up to the occasion, basically, right? So I thought we were gonna get that type of a movie. Nope. 15 minutes in, you find out who the killer is, and then everything after that is just like you just want to scream at the fucking screen because you know exactly who the killer is, and everybody else is acting dumb around him, not figuring it out.
Was it Nicolas Cage in a movie called Jade
I'm not sure. He was in
with
8 millimeter after this,
oh God, I hated
or
that movie
before that.
too. 8 millimeter was terrible.
Yeah, and it was a really bad subject matter too.
Yeah, that was a snuff film that had Joaquin Phoenix in it too, and I think he gets murdered or something in there.
I think so, maybe. Like, yeah, the whole thing is just this like this. It almost seemed like the guy who created the film like created this movie because he had some sick fetish. Because the shit that the dark road that Nicolas Cage goes down into this movie to figure this stuff out, there's no like actual resolve in his character at the end of the movie. So there's no payoff of taking this like depressing, morbid, disgusting road with him like throughout the movie. There's no reason for it because there's no payoff.
Yeah, well, the only payoff is that he promised that woman he'd get down to figure out who did it, but I didn't know he was gonna like go after that guy and kill him at the end. I thought he was just. I mean, did she want him to go make them pay? I can't
Yeah,
remember.
yeah, I think he did. I think she did.
Yeah,
Because at that point in time, when he finally figured it out, he had gone through some like pretty nasty stuff and saw some really bad things. And and so like at the end he was ready to kill that guy because of all the stuff that he went through.
yeah, and that guy was gross. That huge guy. He ends up being like this baby face guy.
Yeah.
kind of like it reminded me of Beyond Thunderdome. They
Well,
defeat
anyway,
that big guy.
Snake Eyes is so fucking bad. We transitioned to a worse movie, like to get away from Snake Eyes.
we need to
What do
we
yeah,
need to transition to a worse movie.
yeah, your worst movie. What do you got?
Um, well, I have a few. Well, Catwoman
Oh,
kind of comes to
fuck.
mind. I'd have to say that is probably the worst comic book movie ever made, next to like Howard the Duck. Uh, really, really terrible. And it had a pretty. I mean, I love Halle Berry and
That was
Sharon
right after she
Stone.
won an Oscar, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, she won an Oscar for Monster, and so like at that point, it's like, oh, she could do anything she wants, and she chose to do Catwoman, which by doing that, I think that really ruined her career. I think that kind of derailed her because she was like in this upward motion of like making really decent films and acting well and all
Yeah.
that stuff and winning awards, and then she went the like, okay, I'm gonna sell out and do the get paid. And that movie was just so fucking disappointing.
They rewrote everything about her character.
Yeah, they completely changed it, and it was just boring. Even Sharon Stone, like her acting was so over the top and terrible that pissed me off because I thought, oh, cool, like they have a woman villain. There's going to be like this cat fight at the end, all that stuff, and which they do, but it's just there's just no payoff and no excitement or no shock value or nothing interesting about this movie. Just like Elektra was the same thing. It's like they could not
I did
make
not even see Elektra because it made no sense to me that you would make a spin-off off a shitty movie.
it's even shittier, dude. So I was really upset because there are a lot of strong women superheroes. I mean, we just saw Wonder Woman, so it took that long to write, to finally come out with a female superhero movie that was worth a darn and actually better than a lot of the stuff that we've seen prior too. I mean, it's Wonder Woman's right up there with some of the good superhero movies. So
Yeah, it's right
Ca-
up there with like Iron
Cat,
Man.
yeah, I mean, Catwoman and Elektra. I mean, they were and Supergirl back in the '80s. I think they did a Supergirl movie with Helen Slater. Just they were terrible. I to the point where yeah, I hated these movies like so much. I'm like the people just did not give the care needed for these characters, and instead just put high name people in them and thought, oh, people will just go see this. And I think at that point they didn't crack the code yet. They didn't have comic book writers doing these movies. They had executives and stuff doing these movies that don't know shit about the characters. So anyway, I hated Catwoman. There's really nothing I can really make fun of that movie. It's just terrible. Just don't watch
Oh,
it
it's
if you
it's
haven't already.
as good as Wonder Woman is. That's how fucking bad Catwoman is. It's the
Yeah,
opposite side of the spectrum.
yeah.
All right, so I have on here The Crow, City of Angels.
Oh God.
Yeah, fucking hate this movie because
Ah,
I loved the first one,
first one was great.
and I remember kind of paying attention to his career, going all the way back to when he was like the sidekick in a Dolph Lundgren movie, something about Little Chinatown or something like that. The movie that they were in together. Look it up. You'll find it on IMDb.
Hmm.
But then his next movie was Rapid Fire, which isn't a great movie, but he was awesome in it. You could see that he was going to be a good action star. That fight at the end when he's fighting the Tiger guy, Tiger
Yeah.
Joe, who was always in like '80s kung fu movies or whatever. But when he fought Tiger Joe at the end of that movie, that fight still holds up today. I just saw it like a couple months ago.
Oh wow.
He was going to be, and then of course The Crow, and that movie was so goddamn different. The soundtrack was so good, and and obviously the tragedy that he died in that movie, but the movie was so good. Anyway, they obviously trying to make money off of Brandon Lee's name and the Crow franchise. They immediately went into production for City of Angels, and it's essentially the same story. Only they have like the older version of the girl, the blonde girl that was in the first movie,
Yeah.
and like somehow she's dreaming about the crow. It seemed like a sixth grader plastered this fucking movie together because they didn't have to do much. Change the names of the characters, alter the two people that get killed, and basically the rest of the movie is the same. Because even at the end of the movie, they do the same thing where they're like, "Oh, this guy's invincible," but we figured out that you hurt the crow, you hurt the guy, And that's exactly what happens in the first movie. And the guy that they got for the movie, when you see him in makeup, he could have been like Brandon Lee's stunt double.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that's why they kind of capitalized on it. Is they're like, well, we can make anybody look like Brandon Lee with the makeup, so
It's
let's just
literally the same script.
yeah,
The girl that's in the first movie only plays like a Yoda type character later to Vincent Perez's Crow,
yeah.
but like, but it's the same fucking movie. It's the same movie. It's so fucking bad. And there's a scene at the end of the movie where they're doing like the Day of the Dead parade. And this is another reason why I hate Batman v Superman. There's a scene just like that in Batman v Superman, and it reminded me of City of Angels. And I'm like,
Right.
oh, I
That's
fucking hate
right.
this. I hate Batman v Superman even more because you made me think of City of Angels.
Because you ripped off City of Angels. Oh, the Day of the Dead scene. That's right. When they're all
Yeah,
like worshiping him and shit.
fuck that movie.
Oh
Seriously.
my god. I got a lot of Nick Cage movies on here, but the ones that really he's been in so many bad movies, but to the point where like it's just laughable now.
Mhm.
But when you have him be a pretty well known comic book character like Johnny Blaze, it pisses you off. So
Right.
like I can't stand Ghost Rider 1, and I fucking hate Ghost Rider 2. Like
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't
those are
even know
pretty bad.
why I went and watched the second one. I think because a friend of mine wanted to see it, so I'm like, all right, we'll go. Oh my god, it makes me angry thinking about it. I think I've only seen those movies once. It's been a long time.
I think I went for the special effects for the second one, and they were
Yeah,
bad. And they were bad.
they were bad, and they had like two directors I think for that one, but they had a story that just didn't make any sense, and I think they did him justice in Agents of Shield. I thought
Yeah.
they did
Yeah, they
such a
did.
great job. I hope he comes back because that actor and just even the effects, everything was great.
Yeah, it really worked well in the TV show. Way better
But
than the
in the
movie.
movies, it's
Or
just
yeah.
fuck, it's so fucking terrible.
That
God, it's
was when
terrible.
Nicolas Cage was starting to do everything and everything possible
Oh yeah,
for taxes.
if you look on his yeah, if you look at his IMDb page, it's like I think he's like works more than Sam Jackson now. Like he's got so many movies out, and usually they're straight to video. Like I think he works for peanuts, but he just makes so many movies that, like I've heard he's a big spender. Like he buys a lot of things. Like
Well, he
he
hasn't
owns
paid his taxes.
yeah, there's that too. He owns like a Superman #1 comic, I think.
Yeah, he was going to
Uh,
be Superman. If you've ever seen that documentary, uh,
oh yeah,
the
which is
story of Superman
fascinating.
Lives or whatever, it's a great documentary. You got to watch
Yeah, it
it.
is.
It's so fast. It's so great. And what's crazy is the Tim Burton Nick Cage movie. Like there's one scene where you hear Nick Cage talking about Clark Kent and how
Yeah.
his version of Clark Kent was going to be. And I'm like, you know what? Him in that suit is ridiculous. But like at a one point he was an Oscar winning actor. He got it. Like he nailed the description of Clark Kent. So it would have been a really fascinating movie had that ever
Yeah,
been made.
but like he was just way too old to play him. Like I remember when they were like gonna say that he was gonna be Superman, I was like, I can't picture this. Like he's
Well,
not.
right after that rumor, Con Air came out, and he was jacked up for that movie. Remember? And
Yeah,
I
I
was
remember
like, and I
that.
remember watching Con Air. I was like, you know what? As I'm watching him like be tough and fight all these guys, I'm like, you know what? I think he can be Superman. I mean, he definitely made his body into that type because
I think he
he
can
was
be
huge.
Superman, and then he goes, put down the bunny, and then you're like, oh fuck it.
Well, he doesn't have like a southern accent. So Kryptonians don't have southern accents. He had to
Put
pretend to have a southern. He had to pretend. It's almost as bad as like James Vanderbeek's southern accent in Varsity
yeah,
Blues.
yeah.
I
I
don't
don't.
want your life.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, wow.
But like the fight scenes and the body wise, I was like, oh man, he's because he was way bigger than like Christopher Reeve. Like Christopher Reeve never. I mean, he was a big dude and fit, but he wasn't like jacked like Superman.
No, not like Henry Cavill is. Like,
No, yeah, but if you go back and watch Con Air, I was like, he had the body type. I was like, oh, cool. I was like, he jacked up. He's got to be doing. I thought they were gonna do Superman Lives right after that
yeah.
because he was jacked. So, but they never
Uh,
did it. Anyway, why do we start on this again?
I don't fucking know. Oh,
Oh, Ghost Rider, because you
because
hate Ghost
Ghost Rider
Rider.
1 and 2. Yeah, I fucking hate those movies. Next.
I've got The Devil's Advocate.
Oh, is that with the Keanu Reeves and Al
Al
Pacino?
Pacino. Yep, yep. And Charlize Theron. I
Oh,
fucking hate this movie, and here's why. Because the whole thing ends up being a goddamn dream
yeah,
in the
I hate that.
bathroom.
I
He had
hate
it in the
that.
bathroom. So the whole fucking movie, you're on the edge of your seat trying to figure out whether or not this is actually the devil, and he's just fucking daydreaming while he's drying his hands after taking a fucking leak.
I thought that he was the devil, and that it because it didn't work out the way he wanted to, that the devil rewound time, and they're doing it all over again until
Was
he
it
finally
really?
gets him to side with him. I thought that's what I got out of it, but I've only seen it once, and I
I've
hated
only
that
seen it
movie
once
too.
too.
Except for Charlize Theron, nude in the church. That was weird too. I was like, this movie's so fucking weird.
It's so bad, and it was really miscast with Keanu Reeves in this part.
Well, I mean, he always plays the what roles all the time, so I don't know. Like, I didn't buy him as a lawyer.
I hated that movie. I
Yeah,
remember
that
just
movie was.
at the end of the movie, I was like, I just wasted my time.
Well, I mean, we've talked about Battlefield Earth before,
Yeah,
and how horrible and how much money was put into that, and all this passion of John Travolta and all these people. Pretty big cast too. John Travolta, Forrest Whitaker, which the two of them were together in Phenomenon, which I liked that movie at the time. And then you had Pepper, Bernie, what was his name?
Brian Pepper,
Bernie Pepper. I
Brian.
don't know. I can't remember because he was up and coming at that time.
Yeah, he
And
was
you had
Roger Maris in '61.
yeah, you had a really good cast, and they're basing this on
Scientology.
Hubbard's Scientology story about aliens coming to Earth and taking over and using us as slaves, and they're giants. They're like 8, 9 feet tall, and and they're using humans as slaves, and they're trying to take over Earth. And on paper, I was like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. Like, we got to go against these huge aliens or whatever. But holy shit, the movie is so fucking bad. And they had the gall to say, "Oh, we're gonna make like a bunch of these." Even after the movie came out and did the worst, like it made no money.
That was at Travolta's height of his comeback too.
Yeah, and that ruined his career for a while. I mean, it was bad.
Until like Get Shorty, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, until he came back a little bit later. But yeah, Pulp Fiction was kind of the rise of Travolta for like 5 years. Then he made that movie, and it just fucked his
Yeah.
career bad.
I don't really remember the movie other than his ridiculous makeup.
Yeah,
Um,
it's terrible. I couldn't even
yeah.
tell you what the movie was about anymore. It was just bad.
I don't know. I just remember Brian Pepper flying one of their ships somehow.
Oh yeah, he did fly, but I
But
still don't
I don't
remember
know
like
how
how
or
he
why.
defeated them or whatever. I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
don't care.
I guess I hated that movie so much. It wasn't even my
You
radar
put it
to
out of
put
your
it.
mind.
Yeah. So that's saying something. I just realized I have 3 Canon films on this list.
What?
Canon,
Really?
the film, yeah. So
Really?
I said He-Man, right? The next Canon film I have on here is Superman 4: Quest for Peace.
Oh, what a piece of shit that was.
So on paper, like you said for Battlefield Earth, on paper it seemed pretty decent that Superman finally takes it into his hands and tries to rid the world of all nuclear warheads. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. And then you see him toss it into the sun. I was like, okay, Superman could do that if he wanted to, I guess. It wouldn't happen that fast, but so and then Lex Luthor finally does something cool and create like a Superman of his own. But apparently the guy that they got sounded very feminine or something, or his voice was really weird or had an
They had to
accent
they had to dub it, right?
with Gene Hackman's voice.
What Gene Oh, whoa. Okay, so and Gene Hackman's in it too as Lex Luthor, who's
Yeah,
like gone straight or something, hasn't he?
he uses a little bit of his DNA to create that
Oh, that's how
being.
they got away with it.
So they got away with it by, and if you go back and listen to the clips, it's Gene Hackman just altering his voice a tiny bit.
Holy shit.
So and then like John Cryer's in that movie too for
As
some
his
reason.
son, right? I think
His
as his son
nephew.
or nephew.
Yeah.
So I thought Gene Hackman had gone straight at that point, but it was John Cryer that was like fucking around.
And
No, I
then like
guess
Superman in this movie looked like he stopped working out, like he was just like skinny.
like Mike Tyson did when he fought Buster Douglas. He looked
No,
all fat and shit.
yeah, but he was still you could still see he had muscles. Like Superman didn't have muscles in this. Like, if you're watching this movie and you watch Superman fight that sun guy, Superman,
Yeah.
that dude's jacked, and you're
There's like
watching.
no definition.
Yeah, I'm like watching this, and I'm like, Superman shouldn't win this. There's just no way.
Yeah.
Like, look at that guy. I mean, look at that guy. Look at that guy's arms compared
He's
to
been
like
sitting and drinking beer for a
like
while.
stick figure Superman over there.
Wait, was this the movie where he got sick and split into two, or was that like
No, that was no. He got sick here. No. The other one was Red Kryptonite
he got split into
or
and
White
fought each
Kryptonite or
other?
something. Yeah. That made no sense either. And then this
What
one
movie
is
was
where he
that in,
gets.
though?
That was Superman 3 with Richard
Okay.
Pryor.
Okay.
So this one he gets scratched by the. I don't even remember. his
Nuclear
fucking name.
Man.
Nuclear Man. Oh my god, that's his fucking name. That's so goddamn
Was
stupid.
great.
So
Yeah.
you do realize now that they said that his name is Nuclear Man, do you know how he gets killed, right? Superman throws him to a nuclear power plant. You would think that would strengthen him.
No,
It's called Nuclear Man.
Yeah.
So anyway, so where the fuck was I? Oh,
that didn't
so
that didn't
so
melt
this
down the
one,
earth.
right? So this one, oh, it made all the lights brighter. Remember?
Like Chernobyl, like didn't happen.
Yeah, no, it made the lights brighter. Remember, all the lights got brighter because Nuclear Man was thrown into the nuclear power plant. Anyway, so in this movie, Superman gets scratched by Nuclear Man and he becomes sick. And there's that scene where like he has the green crystal to save him like one last time because he's like all old and stuff. Remember?
Does he put it in his butt like a suppository?
Well, here's what was confusing because he used that green crystal in Superman 2 to get his powers back.
Right.
And they specifically said in Superman 2 that this is the last of Krypton. Like there's nothing after this. And then he fucking finds another green crystal.
Well, maybe it's not the same one.
I don't fucking know.
Seems like it's pretty damn convenient story wise. Like every time he's like, every time that there's a problem, he's like, pull the green crystal out.
Yeah. And then he does the whole kissing Lois again.
Oh,
like wiping her
yeah.
memory shit.
Yeah.
Margot Kidder's in this movie too.
Very little though. I think it's Mariel Hemingway. It's like
right. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember this.
Mariel
yeah,
Hemingway ends up getting a crush on Clark.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Anyway, this movie is a piece of shit. I hated this. I remember. I still love the first two. Really love the first one. The third one's terrible too. It's just awful. The only good thing is Superman 3 is Annette O'Toole.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I liked her back then.
And then this movie was just fucking awful.
So I have two movies we can talk about really quickly, but so we talked a little bit about Howard the Duck earlier, and I also have Speed Racer is like way at the top of my list.
I've never even seen that. I've never even seen it.
Oh, you've never seen Speed Racer?
No.
Okay. You don't need to watch it. It's so bad. I mean, the cartoon, I mean, at best was okay way back when. I mean, you'd have to be a major fan and be in your 50s to even know what that is.
Yeah.
I remember seeing a few cartoons when I was a kid, but the movie, it's like they tried to recapture the cartoon exactly.
Was there a monkey in it?
There was a monkey in it, but honestly, on all accounts, the cast and the look of the movie looked exactly what I figured a Speed Racer movie would look like. I'm just like, oh my god, they like literally took it off the animated cartoon and shoved it on the big screen. That's what it would look like.
Right.
But the movie's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. It's like any CGI ridden movie that's just completely CGI all the way through is usually crap. I mean, look at that Jude Law movie, the Sky Captain of the World of Tomorrow, whatever it was. That was so CG driven, it was ridiculous. Like to the point where it's boring to look at. Or The Spirit, the Frank Miller movie.
They were trying to capitalize off of Sin City, but the problem with Sin City was that it was a good movie.
It was really good, and it was the way it was cut was really good.
And
like,
it made sense the way they did it.
Yeah.
And then those other two movies were just trying to look like Sin City or trying to look like something, but the plots were just terrible.
Yeah, just horrible, and where the CG just did not do anything justice. You're supposed to use it as a tool, right? But instead, it's like trying to drive the movie, and it's terrible. But Speed Racer is so bad, like just worse acting. But
that was the downfall of the Wachowski brothers too.
Yes, it was. It's like they couldn't do any wrong at that point. But even though Reloaded and Revolutions were terrible, but they did Speed Racer, and then they did a couple other movies, and I think right now they're kind of, I don't know what they're doing now, but that was their downfall. Didn't they do V for Vendetta too? Or they
Yes.
were, yeah.
V
Which
for
is another
Vendetta
movie.
probably ended up being their best ones after The Matrix.
Yeah, which is not saying a whole lot.
No,
'Cause
it's not really
I didn't
good.
like that movie
But they
either.
had
And it,
two quality actors in it. It has Natalie Portman and it has Hugo Weaving.
right. But the problem with that movie is that it strayed from the comic drastically. So
Oh, right.
it wasn't good at all.
Um,
All right.
so I
Probably
got.
should do one more.
Well, I got. I don't know which. I have two left on my list.
Two left.
So,
Okay, do it.
all right. So this is the third and final canon movie. Is Cyborg, the
Oh my!
Jean Van Damme movie. This is
I have
right
a- I
after
have a little-
Bloodsport.
I have a little tidbit about that, but go ahead.
Is it the fact that this was supposed to be what, a Spider-Man movie or some shit? Oh, no, Masters. No, it was Masters of the Universe 2. It was supposed to be a sequel.
Well,
and they
the
had all this leftover.
Oh, I remember.
sets.
You just reminded me of that. I forgot about that. No, the tidbit I remember about that movie the most is that there was I forget that black guy's name. He was that big jacked up dude with kind of the weird eyes.
Oh,
He
Zeus.
actually he got kicked in the head by Jean-Claude Van Damme in that movie and screwed up his eye socket. And forever after that, he had eye surgery and all that, and it never was the same. He was like blind in that eye, or the eyes all jacked up. So like he sued and like got a bunch of money. But yeah, Van Damme didn't pull his kick. He like smacked him, did a roundhouse kick, and hit him in one of the parts in the movie.
Oh. Well, if you wanted to if you wanted to see what Masters of the Universe 2 was going to look like, you look at that movie, because the story
Wow.
goes they built all these sets going to do Masters of the Universe 2, and then they were going to do Spider-Man as well. So Spider-Man fell through, and now all of a sudden they're still bleeding money from it, and they couldn't afford to finish Masters of the Universe 2, but they still had all the set pieces. So they basically, the guy who directed the movie wrote it in a fucking weekend.
Wow.
Wrote it on a weekend, and that's how they used to do things at Canon. That's why I have 3 Canon films on my goddamn list. So basically, Jean-Claude Van Damme had done Bloodsport. So based off of that movie, the success of that movie, because again, it was made very cheap, but made a good enough amount of money that it made like 5 times the amount
Well,
back.
Hold on. So Canon Films, I remember they did a lot of like, didn't they do like
Chuck
the Chuck
Norris
Norris
films, yep.
movies?
Yep.
The
Missing in Action.
Death Wish movies.
No, Death Wish, I think after, like when
Or
it
the
was really
sequels?
bad. Yeah, that's how they got Superman
Okay.
too.
And then I remember they did I remember they did the Sylvester Stallone movie, the arm wrestling movie too. I
Over the
remember
top.
that was big. Yeah. Over the top.
So yeah, they were known for putting out shit movies. There's a great documentary on Netflix. You got to watch it about putting out shitty movies that are just fun to go watch and making a ton of money back. So they had for a short-lived production company, they made a ton of movies. Anyway, Cyborg was Jean-Claude Van Damme's next movie. So based off of Bloodsport, I was like, oh, I was pretty psyched to go see that movie. I saw it. Holy crap. The movie barely makes any goddamn sense whatsoever. There's no reason for Jean-Claude Van Damme to be in this movie, let alone being tracked down by those guys, the gang members there. Like, there's no reason for it. The movie's just terrible.
So let me get this straight. They were going to make Master of the Universe 2 and Spider-Man. So they built sets for both those movies, and then they...
Just Masters of the Universe 2.
Because I heard that Dolph Lundgren did not want to do the sequel. Like,
Yeah,
I
I
heard
don't know
he
what- I
opted
don't know
out,
who-
and he did
I don't know
some
who-
other movie instead.
Yeah, I don't know who they were going to get, but they were going to make that movie. But finances fell through, and they couldn't finish the movie. But they still had the sets.
Well, I think Master of the Universe didn't do well box office wise, so they probably said, "Fuck it, we're not going to do this."
I don't know, but if you go back and look, you'll be able to see some of the sets for Masters of the Universe too. Some of the costumes were used too. The gang members, some of their costumes were based off. They were going to be used in Masters of the Universe too.
Oh my God, that is too funny. Yeah, I saw. I was a big fan of Van Damme. I watched every one of his movies in the 80s and 90s. Like,
That
I
by
watched
far pissed
everything.
me off more than anything. That movie.
Yeah. Well,
and
hard.
Do you have any more, or you want me to go to the last one?
I mean, it's not a surprise that I don't like Twilight, but we've talked so much about that. But U-Ball made some movies that I fucking hated so bad. One of them was Blood Rain, which has, if you look that up on IMDb, it has a stellar cast. like a
Oh, that's with
crazy good
Christina
cast.
That was Christina Loken or something like that.
Yes, which I loved her. She was in
That was
Terminator
her.
3.
That was
Yeah.
that was her next movie after Terminator 3,
Yeah, I mean it's so
based off
bad, but it's got
based off the
it's
video
got
game.
like it's got like Michelle Rodriguez in it. It's got a big cast. Like for some reason he's able to get all these people to be in his movie. Like in The Name of the King, that's another one that's a big piece of shit. But you got Jason Statham, who like he does a lot of B and C movies, but usually they're kind of like quirky and good in their own way.
Right.
But that movie, Name of the King, is another just huge mound of piece of shit. Like I think I swear to God, U-Ball is like this generation's canon films. Like I swear, he does, but worse. Like they're not that have that value of like, oh, we can make fun of it or whatever. They're just so bad that you hate them.
Yeah.
But yeah, Blood Rain was terrible.
I
What's your
don't. I
last
don't.
one?
I didn't even see Blood Rain.
Don't.
My last one is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3.
Oh, Turtles in Time.
No, that was the video game, but they tried to capture
Oh.
some of that.
What
So
was the third one called?
it was just the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, and they just went back in Japan, old
Oh,
ancient
that
Japan.
was such a stupid premise.
Yeah, and like so Casey Jones and April O'Neil are in like their time, but they go back to feudal Japan, and somehow their doppelgangers are in fucking Japan.
Oh no, the doppelgangers went. Yeah, but the Japanese soldiers they no, it's called Turtles in Time, dude. It's
Is it really?
Yeah, it's Turtles 3, Turtles in Time. But the Japanese counterparts come to America.
Oh, that's right,
Or
right,
come
right,
to
right.
our time. Come to our time, I mean, and
Right.
America, I guess. So yeah, that's the number one. Of course, we said we weren't gonna do what the fuck, but that was the number one. WTF is that I mean, yeah, okay, so you can move through time or whatever, but you can't move from continent to continent and back in time. That
Well,
didn't make any sense.
No, I remember this much about the movie that the scepters they found one in this time, right?
Okay.
But there was another one being activated in the other time. So they both had to be kind of like holding it simultaneously or some shit.
But
That's
even
how-
if they're different continents, though.
well, that's how they flip back because the four samurai people guys were there as the turtles were there. So that's
this
how
is
they
like
flipped.
just like a cheap version of Stargate. It
Yeah,
sounds
it's
stupid.
it's bad. And like for some reason at that point in time, I don't know if Jim Henson was still doing it, but they tried to like update or they didn't have the rights to the original costumes from the first movie, which were actually really good.
Yeah, they were really good.
And so they had these other ones where they were like cheap. You could tell they were cheap because every time they talked, they were like fidgeting like they were on fucking cocaine or something. Like the mouths and the eyes would fidget because it wasn't as smooth like the Jim Henson ones.
Oh
So
yeah.
even if
It had
these are the Jim,
animatronics in 'em.
yeah, even if they had Jim Henson for these, it was kind of like Jim Henson's like C team or F team doing this update. Like it was so bad.
It's him, Jensen.
Yeah,
Yeah, that movie is sitting at 21% Rotten Tomatoes, and so the reason why we don't have a Dark Tower review, folks, is that it has a less percentage than Turtles 3.
well, we will probably be talking about the Dark Tower, but probably not until award season for us.
Right. Yeah, we'll eventually have to watch it, but yeah, I mean, these are movies that we hate with a passion, and we could do this again 2 or 3, 4 more times because there's so many movies out there. But these are actually the ones that really came off the top of my head. I didn't really have to do a lot of research, like go year by year or anything like that. I could. Really
I
think-
actually had to look at the list and be like, which ones do I hate more? And that's how I made my list.
and also you can't like, okay, we can't put Batman vs Superman because everyone clearly knows we do not like this movie.
Right.
It's just beating a dead horse, you know. So, but
That won't stay dead.
it keeps coming. Fuck.
Every time I see something new, it pisses me off.
Yeah. Well, at least it's not Leonard Six bad, but
Oh,
it's
there's
getting pretty close.
there's no killer lobsters in it.
No. Quick, gave it a quaalude. Drink this coffee.
No,
drink this espresso.
yeah, there's no killer lobsters, but Jesse Eisenberg comes a close second.
Kill it with butter.
Yeah, I'd fucking shove a
God.
stick of butter in his mouth just to shut up.
All right. Well, that was episode 93 of Chew on This, a Nerds United podcast. I'm BJ.
Dick.
Until next time, folks, chew on that.
Later.